A word from the Rebbe on this week's Parsha, Parshas Ba'aleischo. Parshas Ba'aleischo, it says, "Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe b'midbar Sinai b'shana hashenis l'tzeisah me'eretz Mitzrayim b'chidush Rishon Leimer." That the second year, when the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, in the month of Nisan, the Eibusha spoke to Moshe, and he told him that the Yidden on Erev Pesach should bring the Korban Pesach. And the Chazal asks, and Rasha asks, this was said on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the second year. In Parshas Bamidbar, the beginning of Parshas Bamidbar, it says the Eibusha told Moshe Rabbeinu on Rosh Chodesh Iyar of the second year that they should count the Yidden. So obviously, what it says in our week's Parsha, Parsha Ba'aleischo, happened before what it says in the beginning of Chumash Bamidbar. And the question is, shouldn't this have been written before that? So what it says in our Parsha that happened in Nisan of the second year should have been written before what it says in Bamidbar, which has happened year of the second year. And the Chazal answer, and Rasha says that the reason is because this is an embarrassment for the Yidden. Because in this Parsha it talks about that the Yidden brought the Korban Pesach. This was the only Korban Pesach that the Yidden brought throughout all 40 years in the desert. So it's embarrassing for the Yidden. So the Torah did not want to start a Chumash with something embarrassing for the Yidden. That's why it started with what Hashem said during the month of Iyar, which is a month later in this. He told them to count the Yidden, but not to start with something that shows an embarrassment to the Yidden, which is B'negei the Korban Pesach. And the Mefarshim ask, and the Rebbe brings it also, that what's the embarrassment? The reason they didn't bring the Korban Pesach in the other years in the Midbar is because Hashem didn't tell them to, told them not to. Rashi in Parsha Bey already writes, Tolo HaKosav mitzvah zu b'biyosam loras. The Eibishter, the Posik, connected this mitzvah of Korban Pesach in the Yidden entering in Eretz Yisrael. V'lei nischayvu b'midbar al Pesach echod, and they were not obligated in the desert. Only one Korban Pesach she'osa b'shana hashenis that they made the second year, al pi hadibur, because the Eibishter said so. So the Eibishter did not tell him to bring the Korban Pesach. As a matter of fact, it seems the Eibishter told him only to bring this one. So why is that an embarrassment that they didn't bring the other Korban Pesach, the other years the Korban Pesach? The Kasha is asked by the Mefarshim, even Tosfos asks the Kasha, and Tosfos answers that the embarrassment is that they were 40 years in the desert. They didn't bring it because the Eibusha said not to. But why were they 40 years in the desert? Because they did the Aved of the Meraglim. That's the embarrassment. But the Rebbe says it doesn't, in simple pshat, it doesn't seem that's the pshat. It seems the fact that they didn't bring the Korban Pesach is an embarrassment. But L'chura decided an embarrassment. They didn't bring it because the Eibusha told them this belongs in Eretz Yisrael. Just this was an exception to the rule that this time the Eibusha said to bring the Korban Pesach. And the Rebbe answers it like this, that it's not the pshat that the Korban Pesach is not shayach throughout the desert. Some things which are shayach only when the Yidden were in Eretz Yisrael, because the whole mitzvah is only when the Yidden were in Eretz Yisrael. A lot of conditions in different mitzvahs. But the Korban Pesach, Rashi says, Le nischayvu b'midbar, they were not chayiv to bring it. It's not the pshat that the mitzvah of Korban Pesach didn't apply there. That was not the time of the Korban Pesach. Be'etzem was a time that the Korban Pesach could have been brought. But the Eibishter was not mechayev them, did not tell him to bring it. But be'etzem it was shayach. And therefore the embarrassment is why throughout all the years in the desert the Yidden did not, as the Eibishter, they should bring the Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach is such a special Korban. The Korban Pesach was the Korban that the Yidden brought in Mitzrayim, which was the beginning of Yitzias Mitzrayim and the beginning of Matan Torah. Such a Korban, the Yidden should have asked for it. The fact that the Yidden throughout all the years didn't ask for it, that's the embarrassment. Now, if it would be something that's not shayach throughout the 40 years, okay, you can't come to Eibusha and ask him, why can't I bring Bikurim and be in the Midbar or whatever other things? They're not shayach. But this, and there was other eyes also, that this was shayach to the Midbar, but they just lapel mamish leinis chayvu, they were not obligated to do it. So the question is, why didn't the Yidden ask for it? And that's the time, that's the embarrassment of the Korban Pesach, that they brought it only once. And as we see, that there were a few people that were Tomei. The Parsha says this week, that when the Eibishter told them to bring the Korban Pesach in the Midbar, and they couldn't bring because they were Tomei, they came to Moshe complaining, Lama Nigora, why should we miss out? And the Eibishter said they're right. And the Eibishter gave him a second chance to bring it, Pesach Sheni. So we see by the Korban Pesach that this is something that if you ask for it, you'll get it. So why didn't the Yidden care to ask for it? That's how the Rebbe learns the embarrassment. The only question is, well, why didn't Moshe and Aaron ask for it? They could have asked for it. And the Rebbe answers, because had they asked for it, it would actually show how bad it is that the Yidden asked for it. If they would ask for it and they would get their request, then the fact that the Yidden didn't ask for it would be exaggerated, would be even stronger. Look, you could get it. So Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron didn't want to ask for it, because they didn't want to show up the fact that the Yidden did something wrong by not asking. But L'Peil, it is an embarrassment for the Yidden for not asking. And that's why the Torah didn't start with this. And that's the pshat, that they had to ask for it. This shows, the Rebbe says, how much, if something is possible to do something good, how important it is to ask for it, which is negay also to us, the coming of Mashiach. We have to really ask the Eibishter for it, and then the Eibishter will listen.